Well, for the last several days in our Wonderful Day in the Lord broadcast, we have been looking at questions related to the second coming of Christ, to the tribulation period, and so forth. I had another question sent in that's pretty close to the same subject, so we're going to follow up with what we've been talking about on this question. Here's a question, which is the kind of question you hear from people just in random conversation, but carries some weight. It says there's a frequent conversation about who the Antichrist is. And then they made some suggestions. I don't know why, but Trump and Elon Musk and etc. So that was probably, who knows, had that. Somebody on the other side might come up with Putin or Biden or whoever else. It doesn't really matter. But this is the kind of conversation. And the question is this: will the Antichrist be known prior to the rapture? I'm looking for edification and helpful scripture for these conversations. So let me start off by saying that we don't know who the Antichrist is. Nobody ever has. There's a lot of ideas that perhaps the Antichrist, there's always been an Antichrist in the wings, because even the devil doesn't know when the Lord is coming back. He doesn't know when the tribulation period will start. And so there could always have been someone in the waiting who could have been the person that stepped up to be the Antichrist had God chosen to let him be unleashed. So we look back in history and we see a number of candidates, people that are going all the way back to the early portions of the church. Probably some of the most popular potential candidates have been, at least in Protestant circles, have been the Pope. Others have come up with certain military leadership and so forth. Napoleon was out there for a time. In more modern times, I think Hitler or Mussolini were probably two of the hot candidates, because they sure did seem to be fulfilling a lot of prophecy if you're expecting them to fulfill the prophecies of Matthew 24 and so forth. And it didn't come about that way, did it? And there's been others. There have been many candidates over the years. So is the Antichrist alive on earth today? Maybe. And we don't know. Like I said, I think there are potentials that could be actually the Antichrist, and if the Lord chooses to bring one of them forward. We watch in our time, like many other times in the past, we watch the world kind of unraveling, and many potential problems on the planet right now, many wars and rumors of wars, as Jesus promised would happen, which would not be necessarily the end times. But as these things unfold, we see the world looking for someone or something who could step up and put things together. We're so fractured, so at each other's throats. It's an environment of hate throughout the world, and even within America itself. There's these camps that virtually hate one another on all sides. It's an ugly time. And then with all the internet, social media, and so forth that's out there, it's just easy pickings for someone to step up and say, look, the world's a mess. There's nobody who can fix this planet and all the problems we got except for me. And I've got a plan. I've got a plan that will solve the world's problems, the issues of hunger, the issues of poverty, the issues of war, the political issues, all these things. And nobody has been able to come up with that plan yet, but this individual will one day step up and say, I have a plan that the world, for the most part anyway, will buy. So that's what's going to happen eventually. So we know that's out there, but we don't know who and we don't know when. Now, we know in the political arena, these kind of conversations are constant. Those that want to be president or the leaders of various countries will regularly step up and say, well, I've got it all together. I know exactly what to do. And they get their supporters behind them. That is typical politics. Nothing particularly new there except new faces, new rhetoric, and so forth. So we're kind of primed for someone to step up and say, I do have a plan and it will work, and follow me and I will set it up. And one day, I think according to Scripture, there will be an individual who does exactly that for a short period of time. We call him the Antichrist because he's a substitute for Christ and he's against Christ. But the Scriptures never, in the Old or New Testament, ever call him the Antichrist. We'll look at some of his names and some scriptures tomorrow that give us more insight into what is going to happen with this individual and what his plan is. So I hope you can join us as we look actually into the scriptures more tomorrow.